We're going to have to edit the shit out of this. You might put a couple asterisks right here.
Yeah.
I'm Sterling.
I'm Harrison.
And this is Hard on the Paint by Big Country Equipment. Welcome to That's Hard on the Paint by Big Country Equipment. Today, our guest is Gunnar Latham, longtime friend, musician, rodeo cowboy.
All-round star.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate having you and just pumped that you're on the show today.
Man, I'm excited to be here. I was in passing. Last night I played a gig. I've been playing a lot of hunting ranches and stuff. Because this time of year, normally for most musicians, it slows down quite a bit. But I've kind of found my way of how to get on some ranches and play for some hunters, and try to stay busy. And so called you, told you I was in this part of the country. And then we were like, hey, we should do the podcast. So here we are doing the podcast.
That's one of my favorite things about your best buddies is, hey, I'm not going to really give you more than a couple hours heads up.
If that.
Yeah.
I'm here.
It's like, I'm not much of a planner, but if it's in God's will and our plan, we'll make it happen, right?
Well, it kind of reminds me like when we were kids and we would go up to your buddy's door and be like, hey, can Sterling play? I'd just call you like, hey, a couple hours out, see you in a minute. I have your location. I know where you're at.
Yeah.
College wasn't much different. You did the same thing at college. Sterling would just be like, hey, Gunner's going to stay. I was like, all right. And then
days later,
you'd just be there and be like, hey, is he going to leave anytime? And then
dude, I'm such a gypsy. I literally live on a highway and play gigs.
Some of my,
it's like,
those were
I'm
some of
in.
my best memories
I'm
though
out.
in college when you would come up, whether it was a college rodeo you came in for team roping or whatever.
Yes.
You'd come into Lubbock and what we thought was going to be like a weekend deal turned into like two and a half weeks.
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off type gig. And
do y'all remember? I just thought of this, so I'm going to say it. You can delete it after. But when we were at Lubbock, right? The rodeo was going on, and I'd take a limo.
Yeah, I remember the limo.
Yeah, the limo was fun.
And then y'all jumped me outside of the limo.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, you didn't know who we were.
It was fun. It was intentional jumping. But yeah, it was aggressive.
That limo had its time in Lubbock. They had, the classic like Longhorns on the front of the car, and that thing was ragged out.
It was ragged out.
It was pretty gross inside.
It was very disgusting.
Yeah.
But,
It was a
it was
college
pretty
budget.
fun to pull out the college rodeo in a freaking limo.
That tech college rodeo, since we've graduated, it's turned into a real big deal. It's like it got voted 2 years in a row, like best college rodeo.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't
know that. And they have all kinds of crazy stuff going on over
Now,
there.
hold on.
They have it
Funnest rodeo?
best, like voted by the peers best.
Well, you got to realize they're also having it at Cook's Garage now. It's not at.
Yeah,
like,
Cook's Garage built their big outdoor venue, right? And then they haul in the dirt, haul in the arena, the stands.
Shout out Cook's Garage, sponsorship.
Okay.
Yeah, badass, like
Hold on.
crazy huge.
Hear me out. Play the show at the college rodeo on the Cook's Garage stage.
That'd be dope.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
How cool would that be?
That would be pretty cool.
Like me, Carson Jeffrey. Maybe I can convince Braxton to get up there.
That'd be dope.
And we do
Zachary.
like a whole thing. That's a stretch.
Co Pretzel plays there.
That's true. Maybe we could get Zach Top.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of
Maybe.
tickets they sell for that deal is
I might
huge.
be able to
Yeah, I mean, it's like in the thousands.
shoot him a little message. Be like, dude, look, college rodeo.
Which
You
I
would
think
sell it
the
out
only reason
anyways,
Co
but-
goes to Lubbock once a year.
Yeah.
And I think it's just to, like, because his sister goes to school at Tech, and I think he
Right.
but I also think he loves Lubbock.
Right. Yeah.
But
Who doesn't love Lubbock?
I mean, it's a fun place.
Lubbock or leave it.
Lots of girls do not like Lubbock. Lots of guys love Lubbock. I feel like that's how it goes.
I remember.
No comment.
I remember going to the Blue Light and just having a blast of a time every time I went,
Okay.
and just knowing everybody there and just random artists. I have a picture with Co Wetzel. Well, Sterling took a picture of me. And
Co Wetzel.
With Co Wetzel. And it's like, that dude was just a regular dude hanging out with us.
Yeah.
And then blow up. But there's a whole bunch of them that was like that.
I mean, y'all were there the time that I spilled a fireball shot on Cleto.
Yeah.
Remember?
Mm-hmm.
We were there at the Monday night songwriter thing, and he was up there, and I went by him. I can't remember who else he was sitting next to. He's a photographer. Anyways.
I remember
they
that
were
because
chatting.
they would come up and we would take pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were sitting at the bar, and I walked behind him like, hey, Cleto, big fan. Love your music, man. It's good stuff. Can I get you guys a shot? He's like, yeah, fireball. I'm like, all right, cool. So I go to get him 2 fireball, and as I turn, I'm holding him, I walk kind of in between them. I was going to set him like that. Well, both of them turned, and when I did that, my elbows went, spilled both of them on their shirts each side, and I was like, ooh, sorry, man. He's like, it's all good. It's all good. And I was like, I'll get you guys another one, but they just didn't know I was real broke at the time, so I just left.
Like all the money in your bank account was to buy those 2 shots that you spilled on.
Yeah, those 2 fireballs, man. Like I said, gypsy.
I remember, like that time in my life, if I had put, $500 together, I thought I was in
High
high
cotton.
cotton.
Yeah. If they knew the value of what those 2 shots were to me, I was like,
If you didn't spill them on them, it could have been
you know how much
something.
money I saved for this? Okay.
Yeah, I lived at on Sterling's couch for 3 weeks to buy those shots.
Yep.
Yeah,
Those were such fun days. I also remember leaving you down at Buddy Holly. Or, it was did we leave him on Buddy Holly? Which was it?
Harrison, you and geography and names,
Yeah.
not
Broadway.
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 There you go.
That's close.
Yeah.
Anyways, we left you down there.
Not intentionally.
Yeah.
Let's tell the story. Like, let's tell it the right way.
I knew it. I'm not singing the song, but I knew it.
I'll play the song
I
later.
love the song.
We'll put it on, we'll merge it to the. I showed you the song last night, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so fun night out on the town in Lubbock, Texas. And it was all the boys.
All the boys.
Nope.
Yeah.
Like, we were having a
coasting.
time.
Yep.
No girls.
Yep.
Went to Chimmy's, Crickets, local. I think one of those is non-existent anymore. Not Chimmy's.
Pretty sure we
Crickets
ended
are
up at Blue
local.
Light.
Yeah, no, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Gunnar did not.
Yeah.
Gunnar was like, all right, cool, meet y'all there. I'm going to stop at Jimmy John's, get a sub. Because it was like right beside.
Time out. Let me tell my story. So, we're in Lubbock, Texas. We do some games at Sterling's house. One of them is where you set a beer can there in the yard. And
There's a ring.
you sit around on your lawn chairs and you throw a dart. And wherever the dart hits, your buddy, whoever their turn is, they drink to that dart. So we played that game. We'd been playing it.
Aggressively.
Pretty fun. Yes. And we decided, let's go to Blue Light. So it might have been like a Monday night. Like, I don't remember.
No, it was like solid Thursday. It was
Thursday.
a popping.
Yeah,
we wouldn't have gone to Broadway on a Monday.
Yeah, it was a Thursday night. Yeah, you're right. I want to say that Jake Worthington was playing when we walked in.
Probably, yeah.
Because I swear I remember walking in and he was playing.
Oh, you're not telling the story I thought you were telling.
No, I am telling this story.
Well, you didn't walk into Jake Worthington at Blue Light because you never made it to Blue Light.
We didn't. Oh, okay.
What story are you telling?
Where was I then?
We were down on Broadway.
We're on Broadway. Went to
Yeah.
Chimmy's.
Before that, we went to Chimmy's.
Yeah.
For dinner. We didn't go to Blue Light at all.
We went.
You didn't make it to Blue Light.
Oh.
We made it to Blue Light.
But I rode with y'all.
You did ride with us.
to
Or
Broadway.
someone. There was 3 trucks. 3 trucks left my house to go to Broadway.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Which one you were in the first time?
We don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
So show up to Broadway. I get to Broadway. We've all obviously already been having fun. We go to Broadway. You guys, we just met at Chimmy's, right? We're doing the Chimmy thing. And then you guys walk across the street. And I go, hey guys, hold on. 30 seconds, 5 minutes tops. I'm going to just get a 6-incher from Jimmy John's real quick. You guys go, yeah, it's all good. We'll be in here. We'll be in here. So I go in there, eat my sandwich, I get out.
Longer than 5 minutes.
All of my friends are gone. And so I go to the bar you guys were at. And I go and look in there. Nobody's in there. I'm like, all right, I'll take a shot. So I go in there, get a beer, take a shot. And I walk to the next bar. And I'm like, dang, where are my friends at? Y'all aren't there again. So I'm like, all right, take a beer, get a beer, take a shot. So I go to the next bar.
What you're not saying is you're notorious for having a dead cell phone.
Yes. Also,
No communication.
no communication.
Yeah, technology
My phone was dead.
could have solved a lot of these problems.
Well, after you get married, your phone stays on. A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you have a 2-year-old. But then we go, I'm looking for you guys. I don't find you. So I'm like, dang, I don't have a phone, right? My debit card was probably maxed out at the time. I would assume that I probably would have overdrafted. So I was like, I can't get an Uber. I can't get a taxi if someone shows up, which
But
is
if you're-
Lubbock, Texas.
but your phone
There's
is
not
still
a
dead.
taxi that's gonna show up.
But your phone is still dead, though.
My phone's still dead.
You can't even order
I
an
can't
Uber
even
if you
use-
wanted
I
to.
can't.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm asking people.
I don't
At this
even know if
point-
you had an iPhone. You might have had like a flip
Flip
phone, Nokia or something.
Yeah, I think I did. I had that construction phone thing,
Mm-hmm.
which there's a story about that phone. But, anyways, walk across the street, go into, they have a little shot bar, side little shot bar. So I go in there and I'm like, man, have you seen any of my friends? I'm like, I am lost. I don't have any money. And on me, I don't have any cash, like none of that stuff. I'm like, dang. And he goes, I'm like, can you give me a ride or something? To the bartender. And he's like, no, not really. Gives me a beer, pours me a shot. I'm like, guess we're doing that again. So finish the night there. Walk up the street. And I'm walking. I'm like, dude, am I going to have to walk all the way up this sunbuck
Yeah.
to get to y'all's house? Now, there's an IHOP on the way. So before I really decided I was going to make this
Yeah, I think
stretch.
it's 3 streets to IHOP.
Yes. Broadway, just for the listeners, is like 0, right?
No, it's like 15.
15th Street is
15 or 14. And like
Okay.
IHOP's like on 18. 17.
okay,
And
right.
we're on
you have
98.
You have 19th Street,
And,
which is
and
the big street.
y'all's house, Little Ranch House, was on 98th Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But on the same big road, which was
on the
University.
same,
It's a straight
University.
shot, just a long shot.
Straight
The north and south road was University, and east and west are numerical. So,
Pretty easy.
but in your head, when you've been under the influence of 1 shot and 1 beer all night, I could see how you're like, not being from Lubbock or living in Lubbock, you're like, okay, well, if this is 19th, then 98th, that's a breeze.
Yeah,
it's not even
not that
triple
bad.
digits.
Yeah.
We're 70 something streets away.
So I go into IHOP, right? I go in there and sit down. Again, I have no money. And I'm like, sitting there. Server comes up. I'm like, she's like, hey, can I get you anything? I was like, just a water. She's like, oh, you good? I was like, yeah, I'm just getting ready for a long walk. I need some water for this one. She's like, oh, okay. Well, where are you going? I'm like, 98th Street. She was like, what? It's like, yeah. When do you get off? She's like, 5 a.m. I was like, yeah, it's not gonna work. I want a ride. I was just gonna wait for her in there, and see if she could give me a ride. So, anyways, I'm like, all right, this is it. So I get up, I walk out, I'm, look both ways.
Yeah.
I've got on black Wranglers, my grandpa's black ostrich boots. Shirt tucked in. I walk out of IHOP, right? And I start heading towards 98th Street. Now, as I'm going through the numbers on the street, it's a nice night. The sky is pretty, moon's out. I'm like, man, this is nice. Lubbock wind is blowing directly in my face. I'm just like, all right, my whole body's gonna be chapped by the time I get to 98th Street. Mm-hmm. So I'm walking.
This is the spring too. I think it was like late April.
Yep.
A little crisp.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm making my stretch. Now, as I'm going, I get to 60. I think I remember it being like 66th Street.
Yeah,
that's a good ways.
That's a solid path.
Yeah.
There. And so I get up there and I'm like, all right, man, this sucks. I was like, I'm way in over my head. So cops drive by, right? And I'm like tired. I'm done. I'm like, I'm tired of walking. I'm on 75th Street now. Cops are driving by. I'm like, hey. Literally, they would flash their lights at me and then wave back. And I'm like, no, that's not. Give me a ride.
They're like, look at this methy guy.
But he's tough.
Yeah.
They're like, no, we're not doing that.
No, we're not doing it. Like, stop. Give me a ride. They're like, nope. And just kept driving. So I just kept walking. And finally, I make it to 98th Street and crawl in there and crash out on the couch.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
The rest is kind of like
we wake up.
When we woke up.
Then we woke up the next morning and I was like, how did Gunnar get here? The next morning we get outside and we're just having a blast, kind of starting the whole series over again. Mm-hmm. And Sterling and we're all cracking up. Cameron Dicker's with us. And then you start popping off with your guitar and start singing this song. And it's a catchy song. I hope someday that you produce it because I love it. If you don't produce it for yourself, produce it for me.
That's when that same day, I think you are like, hey, this was during one of your like 2-week stays with us. And you were like, hey, can my buddy Lawson come over?
Yeah.
And I was like, sure. Does he live in town? He's like, no, he lives in Decatur. Can he come over though? I'm like, sure. He makes the drop from Decatur. And he comes and he stays for a week.
Yep.
And what's wild is we lived in such a small space. I look back at that all the time and I'm like, how we managed to all lay our head down in that 2-car garage.
Yeah.
With very few beds and like very limited floor space and one bathroom.
Dude, that's rodeoing. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what
you
we
get
were.
in a living quarters trailer and you haul with 3 bull riders, a bulldogger, and a team roper, and you're cuddling at some point.
Yeah, I never cuddled with you. I just want you to know that.
It's fine. It's okay. You didn't have to.
Yeah.
So how did you go from roping and alpine? Because you college rodeoed at alpine.
Mm-hmm. Soul Ross.
How did you go from that to singer-songwriter?
Shout out Bar SR Bar, baby. Man, what a beautiful town. Sorry. So I walk into this bar. It's called the Old Crystal Bar. And one of my buddies, at the time, he played baseball. His name's Briar Holt. And I would write songs on the road for fun, mess around at y'all's house, picking and grinning a little bit, but nothing other than that, or like at a bonfire party at college rodeo. And he's like, dude, I just got this job bartending, and I know the manager at the Crystal Bar. You should see if they'll let you play. I was like, man, I don't know. I don't really, I don't know my way of, like that, He's like, just do it. So I remember the first Tuesday, right? I walk in there. It's a Tuesday night. No one's there. There might be a couple people with their backs to me at the bar. But Briar would sit directly in front of me, just on his chair drinking beer. And it would be me and him, and I would just play through my songs. And they'd pay me, a couple $100 with a free bar tab to just play once or twice a week. And I was like, why haven't I been doing this the whole time? Yeah. I was literally using that money to help, rent, feed,
beer,
make it to a college rodeo.
Beer. Yeah. Mostly beer.
Yes. And as half of college. And so then I start playing. And then before you know it, a couple weeks go by. Now there's 20 people out there listening to me play. And then a couple weeks go by. Now there's 50 and 100. And then I played the college rodeo there, acoustic. There was like 300 people in there. We sold tickets. And for that town, getting 300 people to go anywhere at the same time is pretty crazy. Granted, that was also college rodeo weekend, so
yeah, but
a lot of out of towners.
Kids are going to the place with the most fun. I think I was there. And I barely knew you at the time when you did that. But how cool is it though? Because Harrison and I've never experienced anything like that, like where you're getting paid for a goodness service that is just you. It's your skill set. It's your God-given talent. It's almost like, a painter drawing a picture and getting someone buying their picture. I mean, it's that type of artisticness. So, I mean, what is that like? I've always thought that was like, to be a musician and a singer, like, that's just really unique. And, you're drawing a crowd pretty much everywhere you go now. And, your music has, well, when you come to San Angelo, you draw a crowd.
At least two.
So, I think that's just really neat. I think that's really neat and cool, that whole idea of being a singer and a writer on top of it, and a talented musician. Like, guitar's not the only thing you play. And, you grew up playing instruments. Yeah. And that, like, this is coming from a guy that wishes I could do the things you're doing. Like, I know it took me 7 months to learn 4 chords, and I still can't synchronize strumming, right?
Right.
Or just pick random chords. So
that was a rough 4 months for me.
So tell Harrison and I about like that. Like, tell me, like, and outside of being an artist, you're a talented rodeo guy. So
and you're also in construction. You were doing fiber optic, right, for a minute?
That was COVID.
Yep, I did do that.
When they shut all the bars down.
Yes. The time that we do not speak of anymore.
The Black Age.
Actually, that never happened. I'm like, y'all are wild. That was a crazy time.
It was a crazy time. And that was really hard for artists because that's the way y'all make your living is in honky-tonks and bars.
We can get to it in a minute, but when that happened, I just remember telling myself, I can either quit and go get a real job and like do that thing, or I can hone in and write a crap ton of songs and like learn the craft, and work it and like every day sharpen that pencil. And that's what I did. I chose to do that instead of go get a real job.
Is that when you linked up with
Josh Grider?
Shout out to Josh.
Man, that dude, he's a mentor, Texas songwriter, legend. And man, he really took me under his wing and showed me the craft of writing songs, like the real creative way to not just explain something in a song, but sky's blue.
Poetically describe it.
Yeah, and make it into something where people can read down your lyrics and it tells a story, and almost every line points at the hook. Like there's things, and don't get me wrong, music's subjective, right? But as far as like once you're writing that many songs, you know what I mean? You start to build your box of kind of things that you like, as an artist, and you develop kind of your sound or your language or your style,
It's kind of like a painter's brush.
Yeah.
Or color or,
Yes.
kind of the style of.
Yes, I am a painter.
With words.
Yeah, right. But anyways, towards your question of how that started as far as the creative aspect, as you said, growing up in church and whatnot, and then playing music on Sundays a little bit every now and then, when I was in college, like anytime I had time off for myself, which I'm in Alpine, so there's a lot of time. It's Alpine time.
Yeah, that could be a song in itself right there.
You go. And I would just go to this music room, right? And it's kind of by the theater kids where they are, but you could walk downstairs and they had all these like soundproof rooms with just pianos in them. And so I would go in there and I would just play the piano and I would write songs. I'd bring my guitar, I'd go in there and play piano and write songs. And I told myself I would spend the time to do that every day for my own pleasure, but also just to like try to get better at something, because in the rodeo realm and roping of how bad I really wanted to succeed, I roped a lot every day, pretty much all day long. So much so that now, I don't really get to rope very much anymore. But if I'm walking through Walmart and someone turns left, I'm like, 2 feet. Like it's never left my mind. Like really,
Right.
You do it that much. Or
You train your mind to always think about it.
Right, yeah, you can't turn it off. And I've kind of through that have turned that side of the brain working at something time after time, and disciplining yourself to now writing songs where now, I hear a conversation, I watch a movie, I see blah, 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 or hear somebody across the way say something. I'm like, oh, that sounds like a song title. Write that down.
You hear about,
or however it goes.
you hear about some
on.
guys like the number one hits. They're like, I think what was it? Merle Haggard wrote "Silver Wings" on a plane in like less than 2 minutes, and it's just a crazy song. Have you ever had any one of those moments where you're like, just wrote down an entire song that you really like in less than 5 minutes? Has that ever happened?
Yeah. Yes, it has. I mean, quite a lot, but in the songwriting world, right, you do a lot of co-writing.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be like, us three sat down at this table, literally with coffees, maybe have a laptop, and you're going through what some of us call it, a hook book.
Mm-hmm.
So in your notes section on your phone or wherever you keep it, it's fine. But you'll go through a bunch of titles or ideas or blah, 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 blah. And, like I have a list of 4,000 ideas on my notes right now. Like it just goes, right? Because it's like you don't want to forget those things, and you star some and put a thing by it, you know what I mean? And for that moment when the song comes to you, you write that song today. You never know what song it's going to be. You don't know how it's going to go, how it's going to end up. But when you can kind of have a pre-plan, a pre-game idea going into the write, that definitely helps the creative flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So being an artist, you go in there and you're like, all right, I have this song, title called whatever it may be, I wish it was me. So then you go in and you start to kind of have a lick for it, First thing you do every morning is press your lips to your coffee cup. I wish it was me, and then you just kind of like, and then they're like, oh, that sounds cool. And then you just kind of like ride around. Or someone's like, nah, it's terrible, trash, And you're like, okay, then you go. And then they go, and you're like, okay, that was better.
That's usually what Sterling does to my idea. Just trash it.
That's not a good idea.
So
I
what?
talked about that podcast. Let's
Yeah.
do a podcast. I don't know.
Yeah, it took a bus ride in Italy for 8 hours for Sterling to convince himself that a podcast would be good. But who was the artist that just brought you, that you can remember as a child, that you're just like, I love it. I love music. I love singing, the lyrics. What song was it? Who was it?
Conway Twitty. Anything he sang. My grandpa, he had a 3500 Dodge, like 2003, 6-speed. Still smells like Copenhagen. And we would drive around, man, and he would just play Conway Twitty songs and sing his heart out. And one of his favorites was Lying Here with Linda. And then,
On my mind. Yeah.
yeah.
It's a great song.
Yeah.
Sterling and I can't sing. We can sell a hell of a tractor, though.
We might have to go to the bar after this. It's like 8:30 in the morning.
But yeah, that was like my first kind of,
Very
essence
cool.
of country music. And my dad really loved Randy Travis,
Yeah.
so he would play a lot of Randy Travis in the car. But, as far as that's country music, but as far as my total influence, I love the Beastie Boys.
Beastie Boys
When
are
I
dope.
was a kid, my dad,
Yeah.
he still loves loud cars and loudspeakers. If you go, any truck that my dad drives has a tip on it, straight piped, loud, proud.
So
It's
Free
in
emissions.
essence, your dad's
Yes.
like 17 still.
100%. 100%. But yeah, he's one of those guys that really, really takes care of his vehicles. Like he's like on it. You know what I mean?
Speaking of vehicles, I always knew when Gunnar was at the house, because when I would pull up, there'd be a red Dodge. What was the sticker that was on the back window?
Rodeo for Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that truck.
It wasn't just on the back window. It's from the front
It was
panel
on the hood,
to the end.
on the side, on the back, on the back,
Yeah.
on the top. I'm like, who's gonna see on the top of the
Yeah.
truck? Helicopter.
Jesus was the only thing getting that truck down the road.
literally.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was all prayer.
I don't think if it was for Jesus, you wouldn't have gotten anywhere.
Yeah. Dude, that's 100% true. And it's funny because I say that prayer all the time. Like, literally. I'm like, Lord, look, I wanted to go to the NFR, and you didn't let that happen. And now I'm somehow singing country music, something I didn't want to do. So you're doing all of this. So you're going to have to do it.
Yeah.
This is not from my talents. This isn't blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I'm like, God, this is all you. So
Yeah.
whatever you want to do,
Yeah.
I'm yours. This is it. And
Well,
so-
it's so funny because God pushes us in directions that we don't ever expect us to be at.
Right.
And for me, he pushed me out of school. I was like, okay, well, I'm the only one that doesn't have a college education.
Right.
And I was like, why am I not supposed to be here? Why do I feel like that? And obviously, this is where I'm supposed to be, the career that pushed me to it.
Mhm.
Following my passion. We get to, never in my life did I ever think I would ever have a podcast. And it was no decision of us. It was other people. Like, yeah, we threw the idea out there, but it was developed by sharing the word, sharing stories. And I find it interesting that God always just pushes us in directions we never even imagine. And usually it's from a prayer.
Yeah, if you'd asked me 10 years ago, we'd be doing this, I'd think you're crazy, But I've always admired your ambition to just wing it. You know,
It's
I've
impressive.
always admired that because I'm a,
Full sin, baby.
you know,
That's the only thing I know how to do.
I'm like I'm not gonna say a worrier. I mean, I try to strategically analyze my moves before I do them, but I value as a friend because you're the guys like let's just do it. You know, like why are we talking about the risks of it? Like let's just go do it. And you know, to me that like is enjoyable for me to be around because like I'll overthink and overanalyze and just worry about everything. And you know, Harrison, you're similar in that facet, like where it's like I'm not, you know, I kind of have to pull you in a little bit sometimes, you know.
Yeah, man.
So it's and I when you would come to Lubbock and stay in my little hacienda, I don't know what. Como se dice garage? I don't know what that is in Spanish, but it was
To us, it was the casa.
and
Yeah.
it was like you and other people would come. I'd be like, get the fuck out of my house, you know, like this is like we're living on top of each other when you were here, and you didn't know, like you hadn't spent a whole lot of time in Lubbock, and you're like, what is there to do in this town? I'm like, buddy, let me show you.
Yes.
And
you showed me, and I walked.
We had it made. Yeah, you saw the whole thing.
I saw it.
You saw
firsthand,
in the,
foot by foot.
in the dark.
In the Lubbock
But that
wind.
wasn't your first time in Lubbock, and that's your fault. You didn't charge your phone, and you went spend an hour at Jimmy John's.
That's
But
cool. I
anyways.
would never leave my friends, but it's fine.
We didn't leave
It
you.
wasn't
You
out
left
of the
us.
norm for you just to disappear, though. Okay,
This is true.
that wasn't out of the norm. Like we're just like, I guess
You're like a good Billy Goat. You just pop out and pop back in whenever
Yes.
you
It's
want.
like the old
you got
saying,
some food, I'm there.
all
Show
roads
up.
eventually lead to home. And
Or a naked
but-
couch.
The world's
we
a
were-
circle eventually.
But I remember you were like, "Hey, I wanna play at Blue Light." I was like, and that at the time, that was like such a goal, right? Because we were frequent flyers there, and we knew the bouncers and
No.
we knew the bartenders, and like when we
kept the lights on.
Everybody always says like, "Yeah, I paid the light bill," but there's a lot of other people that also paid the light bill there. But
Yeah.
we went on a Sunday night on the singer-songwriter night, right? Remember that? Mm-hmm. You didn't even have a guitar with you.
You borrowed.
My older brother, my sister bought a guitar from my older brother. One of the first guitars he had, gave it to me. You're like, hey, you got a guitar I could use? And I was like, yeah. Here.
It's a great guitar, though.
Use this one, you know?
That particular guitar that you have is
And-
freaking sweet.
It has the, what do you call it, little plug in the back for it?
Amp?
Is that an amp plug? Is that what that's called?
Yeah, it's got a
Aux.
pickup in it, is what we call it.
Pickup?
Pickup, yeah.
Well, it's got a pickup, so that worked. And you were the last one to do the singer-songwriter that night. I think there's about 4 or 5 people, I guess, doing it. And y'all got up there and did your 1 or 2 songs or whatever.
Yeah, I played Run Wild, and I played Truth or Consequences.
Didn't you do a rap song too?
Yes.
Yeah, I still ask him to do that to this day, and he refuses. This is so cool when he did it.
Well, he sat down earlier and he brought the
Oh,
guitar.
oh,
I was like, yeah, we're gonna make him do that.
And you get up there, and we had all of our friends, right? Like all of our friends, like probably 50 friends came to do that,
Yeah.
like to watch you play and everything.
Group me
And-
was a big thing. We just put it out in group me.
And they all show up, you do your deal, and it was like you had probably total, I mean, there might have been like 80 people there total. And you get off the stage, and everybody's like, dang, like Gunnar was amazing. And I don't know if like Blue Light even gave out like money or, hey, you won singer-songwriter. I don't think there was anything like that. It was really just like what Blue Light does to
It was just
artists.
a Monday night at open mic.
a Sunday night.
So,
It
okay.
was a Sunday. And Lance, who's like a part owner of Blue Light and bouncer, like he started as a bouncer, but at the time he was working the door and he's a part owner. And he comes up and he's like, hey, you think your buddy Gunnar would want to go up and play more? And I was like, can you pay him? He's like, no, but I can open a tab up for you and We can work that
bulb.
way. I was like, yeah, we can make that work. Gunnar, get up back
You're
on
such a
stage.
businessman. You know, I have no idea this is going on. He could have asked me, and I would have been like, "Yeah, absolutely." You're like, "Hold on a second."
Need a managing firm?
Yeah, I'm like, dude, already.
Need Cash Barker to start a new
From that
LLC.
moment, that led into Big Country Equipment, y'all.
And when you get up there and you play like another 2 hours, and you're just acoustic, just killing it, man. And like, it was one of the best Sunday nights at Blue Light I've ever had in my life, or
Oh,
just
man,
in
thanks.
general.
Yeah, it was fun.
And from that moment on, I was like, I don't know why this guy Gunnar doesn't just do this full time. But you had some bugs you still need to get out of your system.
I did. Yes, I had a lot of, I mean, it's like you do something so long and really want something and spend all of your time chasing a particular dream, which I thought was my dream, and God knew that was just a moment in my life. That was a phase to set me up, I guess, now for country music.
Yeah.
Well, you were saying last night, we were hanging out last night, and I really liked what you were saying about you prayed on an opportunity that was brought to the table, and you're like, man, this is conflicting. Like, I really want to go to that. I feel like I need to go to that, but I want to pray on it. But I have this other thing that I've already committed to. And when you prayed on it, the other thing kind of folded itself.
Yeah.
And you went in.
Yeah, literally
this other
just got
opportunity.
rescheduled.
And that's the same thing of any entrepreneur that I would ever say is pray on it. I mean, Sterling and I have a dozen of those stories that we sat down and literally prayed about it.
Yeah.
Everybody's gone. We're like, how are we going to make it? How are we going to do it? We prayed on it. And the next day, God has a speed dial for that. I mean, it.
Well, I think it also goes to, almost a mindset, I would like to say. And I could be completely wrong. So, not a preacher here. This is just from personal experience. It's my own opinion on this. But I think when you pray, right, and you check your heart and where you're at in your life first, humble thyself before you go to the Lord. It changes your perspective of your prayer, of what you thought it was going to be before it ever comes out. Because what the Bible says is delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. That's your heart, not your mind.
Mm-hmm.
That's your heart, what's in here.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're delighting yourself in the Lord, the desire of your heart is whatever God wants for you.
Yeah. It also tells you your heart is deceitful.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's why it tells you to
give it to him.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so when you go with that mindset into prayer, right, you're not really like expecting your opinion on what you want the answer to be is no longer there. You're just asking God for some help as a friend, like me talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get to that point in your prayer mode, things start happening, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, and I think for me, I've gotten in situations where like I don't know how we're gonna keep the lights on. I don't know, especially in our infancy. Like somebody didn't pay their bills, somebody didn't, I'm like, man, we're counting on this to happen. And you get so built up with anxiety and you feel like you're about to crumble. And God's word says there's peace in his love. Yeah. There's peace in prayer. There's peace. And so when people go, how do you set back and relax? You pray on it because you find peace in it. And that's personally how I do it, because we don't just have Sterling and I to watch out. Mm-hmm. Every employee and their family and their kids, and we are obligated to do the best we can every day.
Right.
And that's a lot of stress. And that's kind of the same thing that you face in singer-songwriting, because you're like, if I don't do good, if I'm not on my A game, how am I going to feed my family?
Right. Yeah.
Well, the whole the entrepreneurial aspect of what you're doing, I don't think a lot of people realize who've never done that, the risk involved in it. I mean, you're really leveraging the time that you have right now, and building your future. And there isn't a certainty that you're gonna cash in, right? And you could say the same thing. I mean, that we're doing when we got dead up to our ears, and we're leveraging everything on this. But like every successful person has ever told us is, if you're going to take risks, take it when you're young, because if you fail, you'll have time to recover from it. But if you wait till you're old because you were scared of taking risks,
there's
then
no do-over.
there's not. Yeah, the time for do-overs is limited. Right. So, like I said, what you're doing is, I've always been impressed by it, because it's just, and a lot of people will go do that and they're not good at it, right?
Sure. And
you're good at it. So eventually you're going to take off. You're already on your way, and
you're getting in front of right
I'm glad
people.
From a selfish aspect, I'm glad that I know you. I'm glad that I'm friends with you. I would be friends with you as a failure anyways, even if you were, but you're going to make it. You're going to be on that hill eventually. And it's a pleasure to be your friend and watch you from crashing on my couch for 3 weeks at a time to where you're at now is just enjoyable, because you're like, man, I've always enjoyed this guy as a friend. But I'm also a fan, right? And a non-biased fan. Like, if I didn't know you from Adam, I'd still listen to your stuff because I enjoy it.
He's got the fan badge on Facebook.
Yes.
Yeah, if I see your stuff on social media, I'm like, fire.
Fire, flames.
I remember I was gone one weekend when you took him to play at Blue Light.
Mm-hmm.
And he called me the next day. He said, Harrison, you won't fucking believe it. Like, Gunnar blew the top off this place. He goes, I'm so proud of this guy. Like, he's going to make it. Like, he's going to be the guy. And he goes, just watch. I'll show you. Like, and that's so empowering to surround yourself by those type of friends.
Oh, yeah.
And, in our business, it's all relationships, just like your business. It's all about who you know, who you're around, who you surround yourself by. And that's how you grow. And so we've enjoyed just being around you because, we were down delivering a skid steer in New Braunfels. Yeah. And you had hollered at us and were like, come on down to the ranch, like, come hang out. And so we were down there.
Beautiful ranch, by the way. Gorgeous.
And so, we go down to our cousins, and he bought a machine from us. And, Sterling worked so hard to sell our cousin a machine, and he loves it. And we're like, you know what? Gunnar's going to come out. And you came out, and you started playing. And we had twisted it off a little heavy. And you started, and you were going to leave. And I was like, no, you got to play. You got to play. And because Sterling's like, Derek, you got to listen to this, buddy. Like, this guy is the guy. You need to know this guy. And, we got you to play. We coached you to play. So just there to support you. And, in that meantime, like, it didn't, your presence meant everything to us. And you were sharing last night, like, that we didn't realize what it meant to you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. It's one of those things, right? Like, coming from such an aspect of, like, this is fun for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's stressful. Don't get me wrong. It's pretty crazy, but it's a lot of fun. And you get to build great relationships. And I have some of my best friends, including you, that I've ever met in my life through music. Like, country music has brought me so many great things in my life. God and country music.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that time, it's like I'm running low on the funds pretty often. Pretty here's money, and then there it goes. So
we know
as
how
you
that
guys
is.
know. And anyways, and you were like, dude, let's get you to play. My wife was kind of like, I want to go home. And I was like, all right.
We have a child.
No babysitter. Or no, Cash was there. He was with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was with us.
He was young.
He was young too.
Yeah, he was. I think he was
And-
less than a year old.
And then you were like, "How about a little bit of money?" You know. And then my wife was like, "Yeah, you can play." I was like, "Seriously?" It's like, you wanted a purse, didn't you? You wanted something.
Yeah, and that was just on the back of a. We were
Gooseneck.
just hanging on the back of a gooseneck in basically a driveway.
Yeah.
And shoot, that's another like super memorable moment. How much
Absolutely.
how much of Texas and agriculture and rodeo do you think influences the type of music you write?
Dude, everything. I mean, all of it. Like go drive I-10. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
From Alpine to San Marcos, Texas, right? Go do that drive 100 times a year, more than that. You know what I mean? You're going to see some beautiful country. You're going to see different ways people do agriculture. You know what I mean? And you do that from gig to gig, from rodeo to rodeo, and you're driving through people's lives. You know what I mean? Their livelihood of what they do, and it's very inspiring. And at least for me, I write a lot of songs behind the front windshield. You know what I mean? It's just...
Who have you written songs with, and who would be your favorite name that you started writing songs with?
So there's a couple guys through just networking, Nashville stuff, also Texas guys that I love to write with. Like, they get it. They get what I'm trying to do, the cowboy thing, but also keep it country. You know what I mean? Not like, I'm a cowboy, but not also like, I'm a farmer. It's like you kind of got to play the both things and then just be honest about it, because, I did rodeo and stuff, and I'm not saying I'm like some crazy cowboy dude or whatever, but did rodeo for a long time, and I like to tell people that stuff. That's just what I like to
And
do.
you day worked in college.
Yeah.
You did all that. Yeah.
That's true. To pay for rodeo entry fees.
Yeah.
Stupid. Losing. But anyways, and some of my favorite guys to write with. That's what we were talking about. Josh Grider, obviously, the man that basically taught me how to take all these ideas and things and form them into a song, right? Definitely him. There's a guy by the name of Mitch Oglesby who lives outside of Nashville, but he's from Georgia, but he's a farmer, like he lives on the farm, runs crops, does that whole thing. And then he'll show up to a riot, fresh off the tractor, dude, coming there in overalls or coming there, you know what I mean? Like, country dude. So he gets it. You know what I mean? Like, he understands that side of it. Mm-hmm. So also he loves rodeo and has a passion for cowboys and that whole side of things. You know what I mean? So I've written Good to Be a Cowboy with him. I've written some more songs that are coming in the future, quite a bit. And there's another fella. Let's see. A guy named Brandon Kinney, right? Really enjoy writing with him. He's from Lamesa, Texas. Lives in Nashville. Yep. Hit songwriter. Like, huge hits. Jason Aldean, which also Mitch Oglesby is also a hit writer as well. All kinds of stuff. And so anyways, those two guys outside of Josh, I really love to write with. And there's a bunch more that I'm missing, obviously.
Have you written any with Braxton, or you just wrote, like, he plays songs that you've written?
Man, we've probably written every song. It's always with Braxton, right? Mm-hmm. Like, he is a great writer and knows what his melody sense is super cool and unique. And I think that's what's separating him. Mm-hmm. Where he's finding his sound and stuff. It's awesome to watch. Also, we're really great friends. But yes, I've written probably 6 songs with Braxton Keith now at this point. and he's cutting a few on the next record. He's got a song called Blue, which his next record coming out is literally called Blue. So I have the title track on that that I wrote with him and Josh Greider at Josh's house in New Braunfels. Right. So for me, that's a big thing for me because I'm out of my first publishing deal in Nashville. Right. So I own the publishing and the writer share on that song. And it's my first song on a major labeled artist that's getting cut. So for me, it's like,
Now,
thank you, Lord.
Cody,
Yeah.
Cody Johnson pulled one of your songs, right?
Yeah, he had a song called "Lovin' One" on hold for a while, and then, which is fine. It just didn't make the cut at the time, and so I went ahead and put it out myself because initially I wrote it for me, you know what I mean, and then I was like, this sounds like a Cody Johnson song. Maybe we should try pitching it to him, So we did a couple times, and it passed, and that's fine. And then I put it out on myself. So,
Yeah, I like that song.
Now, you have been writing with Bubba Straight, right?
I have been writing with Bubba Straight. Met him in Bernie through a friend named Mitch Ballard, who runs a PRO company called BMI in Austin. Shout out BMI.
My BNI
Which-
is not very good.
BMI. BMI, PRO, I know this is getting into it now. But basically, they're a company that finds your streaming numbers, finds the money that you make from people listening, right? And they collect that, and you get a check in the mail, basically. Yeah. And they kind of keep track of your songs, and you turn in your songs, and who you wrote it with who, you know what I mean? And that puts it in the system. They run that. And so BMI opened up an Austin office in Austin, Texas. So anyways, he introduced us, was like, you guys should write. So we've been writing. Yeah.
The country music, you always hear about Nashville and all that stuff. And you've been to Nashville a number of times. And you also hear that, there's a lot of music industry in Austin. What are the differences between the cultures in Nashville and Austin? And do the artists that live in those cities, do they have similar views on what they want to do as artists? How does that work? Because you always hear like, okay, Texas is where you want to be now.
Sure.
Austin is a thriving place for music.
Yeah.
What is the difference between those two cities and the cultures and the business aspect of that?
So Austin, you're looking at, Austin's weird. It's got all kinds of stuff, but the music there is huge, but it's not, the predominant sound there is not country music, right? Like if you go
That's
and
wild
you line up a bunch of, but that's just how it is, I don't know if that's a LA influence or a California coming to Texas thing or whatever it is, I don't know, but it's kind of been that way for a while now. In Nashville, you walk down Broadway, right? They're playing country music. You know what I mean? Everywhere. You walk down 16th Avenue, right? It's all publishing houses for country music, typically. You know what I mean? Like 90% of them, I would say, is people are trying to write country songs in Nashville. And so the difference there, I think, is just, however, if it's California or wherever the outside influences are that have brought that kind of sound to Austin. And I think that's just why it's different.
So there's a clip that came out not too long ago of George Strait sitting there at the country music awards, and like you could just tell he is not. It's not what he grew up with, right?
Right.
And all the legends that he wrote with are gone.
Well, not yet.
But what are obviously country music has always changed.
Right.
What is the direction that country music is going?
Man, it's coming back.
It's coming back.
It's coming back. Guys like Zach Top, guys like Braxton Keith, guys like Jake Worthington.
I love Jake's sound.
Me too, man. He's awesome. They are bringing it back, but each in their own styles. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like Zach Top sounds pretty close to straight out of the 90s. You know what I mean? Jake, similar, but his vocal is so Mark Chestnut. You know what I mean? And like just like
What do you think
that
about Coulter
character. Man, I think Coulter Wall is great. He has his thing, and it's awesome. He found a way to make it work, and that's what's the hardest thing to do in music is when you find your sound. First off, sticking to what works, you know, and then just continuing to rinse and repeat.
Because you're trying to capitalize off that, right? So you don't want to get off that highway that's paying.
Do you ever wish you wouldn't have taken a certain path in music?
In music?
Yeah. Like a style or a technique, or you listen to somebody, you're like, man, I should have stayed to what I like.
Sorta, but then I think about how pretty new and fresh I am, and I kind of give myself a little bit of a break because it's, pretty wild. You just kind of start doing it and go full on and go for it. You know what I mean? And it's like, if you're going for something and it doesn't work, it's like, okay, next thing. And then you just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You kind of find, and I think with the last project I put out and the next song's coming out, I'm starting to zone in on kind of what my sound is and kind of what I want to say and kind of my style,
Yeah.
Well,
but it takes a little bit, you know what I mean?
when we were in college or in those parts where we're just kicked back, and that's my favorite music that I ever listened to is just your acoustic by yourself strumming a guitar, and it's just so authentic. It just, man, it hits you to the bone.
Yeah.
And it's like that's what country is right there, is that you can feel it in your soul.
Yeah.
And I think that's what music in general, and we've kind of put so much noise in it.
Yeah.
And we've kind of lost the feel of your, like we were saying earlier, that's your painter's brush.
In the past, a lot of music you hear is, they're not being authentic. Some artists aren't being authentic to themselves, and they're just playing things that what people want to hear. They think what people want to hear. And to kind of piggyback off that topic and what you're saying, how a lot of that authenticity is coming back around, and you see that in TV culture, right? I think the reason people grasp and really go to watch the Yellowstone and like this new show Landman, right?
Yeah. I haven't seen that. Is that pretty good?
It's actually really good. Now, it's Hollywood in a sense, right?
Sure.
You're not everything's realistic that you're watching because they have to keep it going. They got to keep the viewer tied to it. But people like to see and hear different cultures, right? And the cool thing about Landman, well, it's filmed in Midland, Odessa. They got Fort Worth in there. Then they have artists on there, like they're playing music from Texas country artists that really, and like a lot of songs are tied. You almost hear songs and you're like, that's tied to a landscape. Like you can almost hear a song and be like, man, I feel like I'm listening to that in the hill country right now, or I feel like I'm hearing that in Alpine and way West Texas, or I'm in the like Flatland Cavalry. I hear a Flatland Cavalry song. I'm like, I'm in the South Plains right now, right? You kind of like, I hear a George Strait song and I'm like, I feel like I'm in a roping pen. We just ran
Texas.
25 steers through, and we're giving the horse a break, uncinching them, and we're just chilling.
Yeah, we should do this in the middle of a roping arena while people are running steers.
Yeah, I think that would be awesome. And
there's something iconic about it.
So
this gate just
just some guy bucking bulls, and we're just sitting here doing a podcast where we're like, don't move. Like, what do they call it? You know what I'm saying? When they do that with the table and you have a full podcast.
You have red chair.
You gotta announce a very clean run here.
Yeah.
8 seconds.
So, I think a lot of people like that. I certainly do. And I think that's why some of those TV shows are really successful, is because there's so much authenticity to them, where you're like, yeah, I mean, some of the things you see on the show are like in Yellowstone, like
Right.
No
you know,
working pins. And
like they got a paneled arena in Montana set up, and they're like working yearlings, and they're running them through the chute.
I mean, at
through
least
a
get a
roping pen.
set of portable working
You
pins
gotta get
or
it.
something.
Yeah, so you can see through that, but at the end of the day, like, people admire the culture of it, and I think music is coming around that way. And because of technology and social media, there's so many outlets to see that authenticity. And so while it can be overwhelming at times, it certainly opens a lot of doors and gives people insight. And it's kind of the same reason, like, while we're doing this podcast is, in a way, we don't have a huge platform, but we have some kind of platform, and we have all these cool friends that are in different industries.
Yeah.
And Harrison always talked about it. Like, what are the risks of doing a podcast? Well, I think the only risk is paying for it, But if it fails, in 50 years, we can look back and be like, yeah, grandkid, you want to watch episode 7? It's pretty good.
We had Gunnar Latham on. He's
and this might be our 12th episode, actually.
Yeah.
But
I would also go to say that our political arena has changed, and I've seen such a lightened mood about not hurting somebody's feelings. Like, be who you want to be. Be true to yourself. Be the next person.
Even what you're saying, though, comes like from that's a liberal point of view. Like, that's a liberal mindset of, hey, don't stay on this path, right? Like, be authentic to yourself. Take the road less traveled,
Yeah.
And so, but I look back at 10 years, right? I mean, 10 years ago, I was senior in high school, and the development and growth, some good, some bad, right? You got to make mistakes along the way to point you in other directions, to lead you to things. I don't think we're at where Harrison and I are at where we're supposed to be yet.
No. I mean, I think that we have a lot of learning lessons that we haven't had yet. I mean, there's always a lesson every day, even if you don't realize it.
I mean, we're doing this, and I'm still, like, deep down in my gut, I'm like, I should be at the store right now, I'm like, I should be doing that. But this kind of stuff is one of those, like, hey, you can't die with material assets. You can't die with things. Like, we're called to be servants of the Lord, and we're called to provide and be fishers of men and all those things.
There ain't no U-Hauls in heaven.
No.
I like that.
I wrote that song.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what's I get the title of your song, but one of the lyrics is like something about, big old boat, no time to fish.
Oh,
What's that?
Song called Everything I Had.
Yeah, Everything I Had. Yeah, I love that song. Yeah. I showed it to my mom. She keeps it on repeat. She's like, I just love this song. She's like, it just reminds me of.
I wish there was more songs on Spotify of yours. Like,
yeah, I've got 9, but I recorded 7 recently, 7 singles. So
when are you going to drop them?
January 1 will be, technically, the last song that I put out is called A Good One Does. And I wrote that based off of, it started out from that red Dodge that we talked about earlier. I mean, it's literally the cover photo, me on that dog, and it says Rodeo for Jesus, and that's the truck.
Yeah.
That I did all this crazy stuff in. So it's a good truck.
Yeah. Will you? Sorry.
No, you're good. And so that was a couple months ago, and so that I'd recorded 7, so that was the first out of that batch. So starting January, it's probably going to be very beginning of January. I'm going to release a song a month almost for the year, if not maybe 2 in a month together, whatever. But it's just like I said this the other day on a radio interview on Coke FM. I was like, it's kind of like having a fire, right? And you want it to go all night long, but you got to keep putting logs on the fire. You know what I mean? You got to keep it warm. You got to keep it hot. You know, strike while the iron's hot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how I view it. And I figure, you know, this time next year, after 6 singles are out, we should do this again. And
Certainly.
maybe it'll be.
Well, you know, I was talking to Carlos Lopez yesterday or the day before, and I was like,
Comedian?
man, yeah, comedian.
Yeah.
And he came on the podcast, and he goes, man, I love being on there. Like, thank y'all for having me. I was like, man, honestly, you did more for us than we did for you. But
Well, that's how it goes.
and I was like, but every person that they'll call me, like people just call me and go, hey, I went to look up y'all's, you know, Facebook or y'all's company, and then you know Carlos Lopez popped up, and like I never listened to him before, and I started listening to him, and now I love him. Like this dude is freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
And so you know, any exposure is good exposure when it comes to trying to get your stuff out, and that's
Absolutely.
you know that's one thing. We're like, okay, well, what if we say the wrong thing on the podcast? What if we do this the wrong way? Like, how do we do it right? Ultimately, if you never try. Well, we try to be authentic,
Sure,
but
yeah.
if you never try, then you'll never fail. And the worst thing to do is to never try,
Right.
because we would never be here if we never would have tried a dream.
Yeah.
You would never be here if you didn't try a dream.
Yeah, I mean, think about it like this. Hell, I was thinking about it last night. You know, with all of the outlets we have available to us, you look back someday and you're like, why didn't I just try to do that?
Right.
You know, why?
Yeah.
Why? I mean, all this stuff is available to us.
And it really doesn't cost that much. You know, sometimes it's relatively inexpensive to a grand. You might have to go with something, but you know, like Sterling was saying, 20 years ago, think about it. 20 years ago, we didn't have an iPhone.
That's why I recently purchased some digital coin.
Oh Lord.
I got $500 in that. There's one on there that if it goes up a penny, I'm gonna be a millionaire.
Yes.
But you know, that's the thing is, 20 years ago, we didn't have the technology that we have now. And I think I was listening to Joe Rogan or one of those podcasts, and they were talking about the music industry. And it's like, we just had to travel around. Like you just show to show to show to show, and hopefully you got enough people that liked you. So if you blew up 20 years ago, congrats on you, because that's wild.
Sure, but also during that time, going and seeing a show live,
Right, that's true.
that was the thing to do. Like everybody went out. You know what I mean? We weren't doing this. You know what I mean? If you wanted to go see somebody play or see them, you know, you couldn't go on the internet and look at a video. You had to go buy a ticket, and then you went, and then it was fun, and then you bought a T-shirt after, and then you left the show. And then the next time you told all your buddies, when he comes back to town, we're going to go. And you brought 10 of your friends. And so that's the
changing landscape.
Yeah, that's...
And you probably
That's
heard
music
it from the radio or you saw it in the paper.
Right.
You know, like that was the two intros. You know, now it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, you know,
TikTok.
or X.
When
you
people
know?
go...
Sorry, Elon.
When people go, how is the music business? How you doing? You know, how is it? And I'd start thinking about, well, I sold some tickets here. Oh, that was crappy here. Blah, 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 blah. And then I think what is actual reality in the music business right now is the fact that every single one of us, even if you're really in the music business and like play every day or not, or can grab a guitar and sing anything, right? We are all one TikTok away. Isn't that insane?
It is insane.
I mean, Samuel
people
Barber,
ask me,
Jack
I'm like,
Top.
Yeah, we
I'm
joke
one
about it. So
TikTok
if
away,
we
man.
sell
Riley Green.
if we sell one skid steer off this podcast or from a TikTok or whatever, that pays for it for the entire year.
Yeah.
Like just that marketing expense to do that. You
So
know,
it's like, why not? You know?
Yeah.
But the other thing is, right, the other side of the business is going and meeting people in person and you know what I mean, and shaking hands and creating relationships.
Well,
you
we
have
were
to be likable.
And building a fan base. You do have to be likable and you have to be coachable.
Well, we were talking about
thing.
this in a sales meeting the other day, and there's a company, several big companies in our industry that are pushing for you have to have so many phone calls, so many meetings. You have to have they're almost going virtual, right? Like cover the masses, and they're losing this. Business is built on relationships, and when you're talking to 200 people a day and you're a telemarketer, there's not a relationship there. There's not a, hey, Gunnar, how can I do this? Or Gunnar calls me, Harrison, I need a tractor to plow my arena. Like, take care of me. There isn't that relationship.
Right.
And so, when you get down to the nuts and bolts of it, relationships build your career.
Oh, yeah.
And if you skip that part, you just won't have a career. You
I
might
think
have
you-
impressions.
I think, yeah,
Sure.
I kind of what you're saying. I think you could have short-term success, but not long-term.
yeah.
Yeah.
Will you play us a song that one you were telling me about?
Yes, I will. Okay. I'm going to sing a song. This is my next release. I've kind of been slowly pointing at it this entire podcast, which it will line up here in a second. But this song is called I Wish It Was Me. I wrote this with Wyatt McCubbin and Josh Greider in Nashville, Tennessee. This is my attempt at bringing back 80s country music sound with a modern twist. And it's just something that I love, this style of music. It's something, it's got that authenticity, I think. She's getting out of tune, boys. There was, you hear that little eek? That's it.
I never had the ear for tuning a guitar. Then again, I also don't know how to play.
Well, then again, they have these things called tuners. They do it for you. There it is. All right. This song is called Wish It Was Me. First thing you do every morning is press your lips to your coffee cup. I wish it was me. I wish it was me. And every evening when the sun goes down and you're cold, you grab that blanket and you hold it close. I wish it was me. I wish it was me. Holding that door and buying you a glass of wine, spinning you around that floor till closing time. My heart breaks all over again every time I see you with him. God, I wish it was me. I ain't never seen that dress before, and it ain't hard to tell who you dressed up for. God, I wish it was me. Hell, my third drink's damn near gone. Looks like one of us was better at moving on. God, I wish it was me. Holding that door and buying you a glass of wine, spinning you around that floor till closing My heart breaks all over again every time I see you with him. God, I wish it was me. Oh, I wish it was me. Oh, yeah, I do. Couple hours, this place is gonna close, and it kills me knowing who's taking you home. God, I wish it was me. Holding that door and buying you a glass of wine, spinning you around that floor till closing time. My heart breaks all over again every time I see you with him. God, I wish it was me. Oh, I wish it was me.
Wow.
I just
Should we even continue after that?
no. I just,
That was great, man.
I'm lost for words.
I need to slap.
Yeah, lost for words, dude. That is just
Yeah, that's gonna come out in January. I'm really stoked about it.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love
Man,
that.
that's-
That's probably my favorite one.
yeah.
Sweet. Good.
Yeah.
And I hope the next one's also your favorite one.
I love that one.
Man, I'm going to listen to all your songs on repeat. And, you know,
Can you shit, I mean, I don't want to use you, but if you could play that one.
Love it when
If you could play Already Drinking.
Already drinking?
I love that song too.
All right.
Just, I mean, while you're here, I mean, the
Yeah,
guitar's
I mean-
right there.
I mean, you're on recording. We basically publish it after this.
See this? See this?
Yeah.
Dance monkey dance. It's abuse. It's called the music business.
Harrison, you got a $5 bill.
I'll pay more than that. I'll pay what I paid last time. Gosh, dang.
All right. I wrote this over a buddy telling me that he had a broken heart. And we were out on a golf course, right? And I ended up writing this song in Nashville, but that's where the idea stemmed from, was this storyline. This song is called Already Drinking. Up with the sun, hit my fishing hole. Couple bass tugging on my fishing pole. Caught a quick 9 with some buddies after lunch. Hit a happy hour for a couple cold ones. Had a good day going on till she blew up my phone. Yeah, good thing I was already drinking. I was numb before the hurt could even sink in. She called, said she ain't coming back. I'm gonna need another bottle of Jack. Riding high on a heartbreak buzz. I'll worry about tomorrow when the sun comes up. But right now the only thing I can think is it's a good thing I was already drinking. Ooh, yeah, let's hear it. Oh, that's funny.
Sounds better than a tractor.
Yes. If I was sober, I'd be crying. So might as well just keep on tying another one on. 'Cause my baby's gone. Couldn't tell you where it all went wrong. But it's a good thing I was already drinking. I was numb before the hurt could even sink in. She called, said she ain't coming back. I'm gonna need another bottle of Jack. Riding high on a heartbreak buzz. I'll sun comes up. But right now the only thing I can think is it's a good thing I was already drinking. Ooh, yeah. Ooh. If I said I saw it coming, I'd be lying. But that girl always had good timing. 'Cause it's a good thing I was already drinking. I was numb before the hurt could even sink in. She calls, said she ain't coming back. I'm gonna need another round real fast. Riding high on a heartbreak buzz. I'll worry about tomorrow when the sun comes up. But right now the only thing I can think is it's a good thing I was already drinking. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, drinking. It's a good thing I was already drinking. Coffee in the morning on this podcast.
That's awesome.
Whenever you had us
that's
do
great.
that, I feel like that was your version of more cowbell. That's all we could bring to the table.
And that is right now the most music experience I've ever had.
There you go.
Oh man,
There it is.
I love
man.
that.
I mean,
Hey, I'm gonna talk to the big guys up at New Holland, but I'm gonna try to get us a tractor deal.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Because I definitely need a tractor.
yeah, you do.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you do. You need a tractor. You need a tractor. We'll put some 2 12-inch diamond subs in it.
Yeah. Park it right in my backyard. My wife's going to be like, what is this? It's a tractor, right?
it's a gift from the boys.
No. Yeah, my dad has a place we would definitely use it on. But also, we should probably get into some point at this podcast before we get done, right? Our significant others.
Definitely. Yeah.
Right? So when Sterling and I met, we were both single buddies, having fun, doing the thing. So I want to know what it was like the first time that you met Audrey and how her role in your life has shaped up supporting you in big country equipment.
Yeah, significantly. So, you get asked, like, how did you know? And was there a light bulb that went off? Like, the first time I met her, I mean, definitely. I was just like, there's that natural chemistry where it's undoubtedly, like, that I'm drawn to that person, right?
Right.
But when Audrey and I from the time we started dating to the time we first met, there was lots of months in between. But she significantly improved my life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she added so much value that I didn't know there was that much you could even enhance it, right? And from that moment, like, I knew, okay, well, I'm going to marry this woman. I don't know when, I don't know how. For me, it's like I had all these boxes I needed to check off before I proposed to her, right? It's like I need to have this much money, and I need to buy her a ring, and I need to buy a house, and because in my mind I was like, if I'm going to commit my life to you and provide for you, then I need to be able to do that beforehand. But in her mind, she didn't care. She's like, I'll live with you in a cardboard box as long as I'm with you. And that was like a type of woman in an affection that I had never received before.
Yeah.
But she's been huge in the development of me as a person, and then also with Big Country. I mean, does she have an influential role in our business? Like to day-to-day operations, no. But when I come home, her presence in a way kind of lifts the weight off.
Sure, man.
And when you're talking through things or you're going through things, it's a lot easier to have her with me by my side, you know. And you do, and I feel like that. I mean, I feel like being with her shaped a lot of my decisions.
Yeah.
And I put a lot of confidence in that, you know.
Yeah.
Because
Audrey, when you hear this, you better be crying. That's so
better
sweet.
be. So yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, there was months between the first time I met her and when we finally started dating. I met her in Lubbock, actually,
Right.
in
Crickets.
line at Crickets.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then she and that's another story, but moved to San Angelo. She's from here.
Yeah.
And the business is here. Harrison was here. And I was working on my thesis for grad school. And I was like just at the office, just typing away. And we'd been texting, like I wanted to take her on a date. And then, you know, then eventually we went on a date. And I had to borrow my sister's truck to go pick her up because mine was a piece of poop.
Preach.
And I was like, luckily at the time my sister had a nice truck, so I was like, oh, thank God, you know. Harrison was supposed to leave me his, and he left. So I actually was at the office with no wheels.
Harrison's always had a nice truck.
And my sister,
I'm also not married.
and my sister was like, I'll just
hear that,
ride.
ladies?
I'll just ride home with Harrison, and you can use my truck. I was like, great. And she called me when I was on my way to pick her up. She's like, hey, I'm going to meet you at my friend's house in town. She lived out in the country. And that way it's just more convenient. Do you need anything? And I was like, no, I don't need anything. She's like, are you sure? It sounds like you need something. I was like, well, I don't know if it's appropriate to ask, but I am out of snuff. And she's like, Copenhagen? I was like, yeah. And, you know, usually you have to educate people on what type of tobacco you want. And she's like, no, I got you. She shows up with a can of Copenhagen snuff, like the right one. And I was kind of
That's
like,
when he really fell in
At this
love.
moment.
I was like,
He knew.
wow, this is incredible.
Did not.
You know?
Yeah.
And
He
then,
didn't have
and
to.
then from then on, like, been together ever since. Never hesitated, not in doubt, really. I mean, there were times where I more so probably doubted myself, right? Because you're worried about losing something
Yeah.
or someone because of your own, I don't know how to put it. I've never really been asked this question, but
Issues, problems. Things
Yeah.
you haven't dealt with yourself yet that you didn't know you even needed to deal with.
exactly. And like
Until
when you
you
make
live with
a
someone.
commitment like that, because you're more so like looking at this person that you love, but you don't want to let them down.
Right, yeah.
And it was those questions I had to ask myself.
Sure.
I always knew she was it, but it's like, can I provide for her? Can I take care of her?
Yeah.
Can I be the man that she needs?
Yeah.
And I've failed countless times over and over,
Sure.
and she still chooses the best of me,
Yeah.
which is, you know, that's love, in my opinion. Love is unselfish.
Absolutely. So,
To you,
now, well, hold on. Now leading into your new father.
Yeah. That's a whole nother like type of love, right? For your child. But, you know, seeing your wife go through getting, you know, becoming pregnant and childbearing to giving birth and all that. And it's an experience that you and I will never truly comprehend. But watching them,
Not.
yeah, watching them do that is just, it also is just a type of feeling, an aura that you can't really put your finger on. I mean, it's crazy. And then watching her mature from a woman, like a girl to a woman to a mother, and being my wife all in that same journey is crazy. It's crazy. And it's only like the beginning, you know? we when you're 18, when you're 25, you think you've lived so much life, and you really haven't.
Yeah.
And so just in these early stages of being a father and a husband, still in the early stages of it, it's crazy. And I can't, at first, I was like, I want Josie I can't wait for her to grow up so I can start taking her with me everywhere. And, I can't wait for her to, sit on my lap and drive a truck around or drive a tractor around or
Right.
take her hunting with me or fishing or playing sports, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Now she's, turned 1 the other day. She's walking and running around and she knows a few words. And then I'm sitting there like, I couldn't wait for this, but I'm also like, I can't believe that infancy of her is already gone.
Right.
It's just
So fast.
it's just like that.
Right.
You're like, where did it go? And then you get a whole new perspective for your parents.
Right.
Since becoming a father, my appreciation for my parents has gone through the roof.
Right.
And my appreciation for my wife has gone through the roof.
Oh yeah.
You're not around every day. Obviously, I'm not around you every day. But, some people that are around me every day, they're like, Audrey does everything. Like, you don't have to. And I would if I had to, but she does it,
Yeah.
Like, she's that good of a mother.
Yep.
She's a great mother.
Yeah.
And, there's 3 types of love in the Bible mentioned. The love of the father, the love of a brother, and the love of your spouse, right?
Right.
And since being married and, fathering a child, that third love is like, it was unfamiliar until then. And you're like, oh, wow, I see it.
Yep. Second love always been here.
So, and you really see how your family becoming an entrepreneur, you really have an appreciation, a new appreciation for your spouse. Because there's highs and lows, and the peaks are so great, but there's so much in between there, and they feel like they're forever.
Yeah.
And so you learn to appreciate those.
Oh yeah.
Those highs.
Well, behind every good man is a great woman.
Mm-hmm. Well, she certainly is, more than I deserve.
How did you like your transition from being a boy to a husband, and how she changed your life?
So, the way I look at this is I've roped so many wild cows in my life. I think I just became one. And then she roped me in, boys. And
the Maverick got it.
Yep. And man, she was our types of crazies connected. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things where you're like, gosh, you don't realize that people are going crazy because you're driving them crazy. With all your stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, amen to that. Audrey can testify that.
Yeah. And man, she is my rock. She's, right now I'm in San Angelo, played a gig last night. She's at home watching Cash, with our son.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, I literally would not be able to do it. And also, she loves music, and she's also secretly a very poetic writer. She can write very well. That's a secret talent of hers. How many more points can I get? But no, man, it was one of those things. It was a God thing. I told one of our mutual friends, one of my best friends, Lawson Harris, whenever I first saw her at Freiheit Country Store in New Braunfels, Texas. I was young, and then she had like a boyfriend. This was like 3 years before we ever dated, hung out. I told him, she came up and served, and I go, dude, if that girl ever gives me a chance, I will marry her ass. And he was like, really? I was like, absolutely, done. Dude, years later, man, we got married.
Yeah.
We got a young pup on the ground, Cash. So
how'd your life change when you went from being a music writer to, being in a relationship and then a father?
Man, your songs change, you know, uh, as you get older, everything changes. But man, I mean, Cammy has the biggest role in my career starting out, was she was like, "You're not gonna go play at that little bar anymore. You don't need to be playing there. You need to be playing at a legit venue. You need to be playing at, you know what I mean? Because at the time, I'm playing so many gigs for $300 at a restaurant and blah 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 blah, or whatever. And she's like, you gotta stop that. Like you need to be playing the venues and yada yada yada. And she was kind of like a driving factor of me, like not just like chasing the dollar. You know what I mean?
The easy
Which,
cash.
right? Which, you know what I mean? A lot of people make a incredible living doing that. You know what I mean? Like you can make 6 figures, sometimes more, literally just playing those gigs. You know what I mean? Which is great, and people have full on careers doing that. That's not necessarily what I'm after. After the time, and she kind of kick-started that. And it's kind of funny we talk about plan A's and plan B's. You know what I mean? And I didn't even realize that playing those gigs was almost a plan B. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it was like I had to burn that boat and go like, no, I'm going all in. I'm not.
David Goggins it.
Yes.
Who's going to carry the boat?
So, especially when people talk about burning boats, I'm like, man, I don't have one to burn. So it never even existed. There was no other option. It's either working or I'm going to die. So,
Well, I mean, since y'all been together, I'm certainly seeing your growth and maturity over the years. And, what you said earlier, behind every good man is a good woman, an even better woman. So I certainly see that in y'all. And I think she's a driving force behind that. And, I think both of our wives have made us grow up.
oh, for sure.
And we talk about the old days and the college days. And while they were certainly fun, I don't know if it was healthy.
Not at all.
If I could interject here, I am single, but
There it is.
but I have gotten to see both of y'all grow, from my best friend, and when I knew Sterling was smitten and head over heels, but the day I knew, I remember it clearly when I was like, okay, this guy's a different version, and you always have your brother's back. You always have your best friend's back. And we went to his bachelor party in Arizona. We went into a bar, and all the buddies were drinking. All the buddies were doing this, and there was bartenders everywhere. And Sterling was just going up to every bartender and going, look at my beautiful fiance. Look at my beautiful fiance. Well, the next day, I had to go back to one of those bars. And I go back, and the bar manager was there. And she was stunning. And
You left your card there.
His dignity.
yeah. So I go back in, and, of course, I had my bonnet on and, dressed like how we're always dressed. And they're like, you were with the group of cowboys in here last night. I said, yes, ma'am. You guys, the groom is my brother. And she goes, every night I see hundreds of grooms come in here to be married, and they're hitting on the waitresses, and they're not prepared to be married. And your brother was the only one that I've seen in a very long time that comes in and pulls girls aside and goes, this is my wife. This is the girl I'm about to marry.
Well, I don't know if I pulled people aside. They try to talk to you. So.
But Sterling was showing
this
them.
beautiful woman I'm engaged to.
And so Sterling was,
You get huggy.
yeah, your love hurts too. But but Sterling was going around, and so this girl, like,
We're going to have to edit the shit out of this. You might put a couple asterisks right here.
yeah. So Sterling,
I figured.
that girl made it a point. Y'all cannot be serious. Straighten up. So, anyways, this waitress, which is the bar manager, was like, I haven't seen this ever. This is it. And I I just knew, like, all right, well, he's the one, or like she's the one for him. And obviously they've got married and had a kid, and I couldn't ask for a better partner for my best friend because one, she takes care of me just like she takes care of him,
Right.
which is shout out to Audrey, great.
Yeah.
But I know if I ever not in the picture, he's taken care of,
Right.
and that's ultimately the greatest thing I could ever ask for. And for you, I knew not only were you smitten and you were eyeing her and everything, but we were talking one day and you said, I asked God for this woman. I asked God for everything that this woman has, and he granted me it. And he goes, God answered my prayer and gave me Cammie.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that was a very powerful note because I was like, you know what? Relationships are hard. There's no certainty in them. But who you pick for the rest of your life means everything. And we have a really good friend. And he sat Sterling and I down when Sterling was dating Audrey. And he said, look, Terry is my best friend. And the greatest investment you'll ever make in this entire world is who you marry. And you better pick it wisely. Mm-hmm. Because all your happiness will be built with them. And all your sorrows will be built against them if you pick the wrong one. And so that's a big thing. So I would applaud both of y'all just seeing you both grow as husbands, going from boys, because I saw you act like some children, to men, to now husbands, and now fathers. It's an awesome journey. So
yeah, man.
But that's all I got for y'all.
Yeah. Well, maybe you can join the club one day, Harrison.
I don't know. That's a pyramid scheme. I don't know if I want on.
Dad always said this. He said, "There's another gear you find when you get married and have a child." He said, "You grab a gear that you didn't know existed." Mm-hmm. And because I was nervous, to be a father. And when I would talk to my dad, Kesey, about it, he's like, I don't know how to explain it. That kid's going to hit the ground, and you're going to figure out ways to make money where you never even thought of before to provide. And there's 100% truth to that. So I think you found that gear also.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you're writing songs that are like, that one's probably gonna buy you the ranch, and you're gonna need a couple tractors,
So, I don't know. That sounds like a song right there, grabbing gears.
Yep.
But well, thank you so much for coming on, and I'm so excited to see where your career ends up. Ultimately, we're friends first before fame, so remember that. When you got your own private jet and everything, and, being a rock star. But
we'll do the podcast on the plane, right?
Yeah, put out that white noise. But
you're right. Yeah.
But thank you for coming on. Thank you for being a part of our lives from the beginning to now, and I cannot wait to see what you do in the future.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for having me on, man. This is really cool. What you guys are doing and what I've seen you guys do together is something a lot of people envy. Having a great relationship with a family member and a successful business is those are two hard things to do. You guys are figuring it out.
Well, there were many fist fights before that.
Well,
so
it was hard on the paint.
Well, Harrison likes to ask this before we cut off the show. Is there one piece of advice to upcoming aspiring musicians or entrepreneurs? Any life lessons that you've benefited from, or choices that you'd like to change or make in the future that you wish you would have done?
So, my words of advice to an upcoming artist, and really like anybody in entrepreneurship doing that, building a business, whatever, my advice would be surround yourself with people that are helping. You know what I mean? and those that are not helping, try to lean out of that a little bit. You know what I mean? Because you've got to stay focused on your goals and what you want to accomplish, right? And a big thing in owning a business or starting out, especially in music, is have goals of what you want to get done, right? But realistic goals. You know what I mean? I want to write 50 songs this year. That's a realistic goal, relatively. Maybe not. Maybe it's 10. Whatever your goal is, you know? Do that. Go, okay, I'm going to go play this restaurant gig or this venue or this bar, and it starts, you know what I mean? You're just trying to reach your goals. But also build a foundation where you can find the things not to do, right? And some things you just got to learn for yourself for sure. But when you surround yourself with people that are helping and, you know, are successful, regardless if they're in your field of business or not, they can give you some pretty good advice saying, I wouldn't do that, you know, because it didn't work for me, kind of thing. That's what I would say. But also, as you said earlier, if you never try, never fail.
Yep.
So you got to try. You're going to fail, but you got to get back up and do it again. And if you only have a plan A and you focus all of your entire time and things on your plan A working, you know, there's no plan B. It's
Burn your boat
burn that boat.
or
man.
raft or whatever you have.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think everybody that we have on here in more ways than one kind of circle back to people.
Yeah.
Iron sharpens iron. Who you surround yourself with is who you will become. There's a lot of truth to that. So thank you for sharing that. Thanks for coming
Absolutely.
on.
Thanks for
Enjoyed the
playing.
heck out of
Great,
it.
man.
We are excited.
I could probably do this with you for another couple hours.
I know,
This has
man.
been fun.
Yeah.
Well,
Absolutely.
thank you. Clocking
Yes,
out.
sir.